respond or share anything, or we invite them? Yeah.
Fantastic, thanks. We have time for, oh wow, lots of questions. So let me do this. I'm going to pass the mic around. We'll just take maybe 5 questions back to back, and then we'll let them pick which ones to answer. So
yeah, thank you very much for a very good session, and we really appreciate the contribution. I have one question to Cecil and Dan. We see that the TowerCo have this open access where you see operators, they can co-locate and provide service to various operators. And now we see the open access broadband network services where you can lay fiber to home or fiber to business, but not necessarily being the same internet service provider. I can use another internet service providers to the infrastructure that you have laid. What is your view about that in your business model and the undertakings that you want to proceed with to make sure that everybody is connected?
Okay, let's hold that question. Go ahead, yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Lilian Mutwalo, MTN Global Connect Managing Director from Zambia. My quick question is to Cecil. At MTN Global Connect, we believe that everyone deserves the benefits of a modern connected life. And I appreciate the insights you've given today with regards to what you're doing in Tanzania to ensure that Tanzanians are connected. But you also appreciate that we also depend on you for our connectivity. So obviously, post-COVID, we've seen high volumes of data, so the volumes have spiked up. But we don't seem to see the downward trend in terms of pricing for connectivity. We are heavily dependent on Easy and SEACOM. Are there any deliberate efforts from your end to reduce the connectivity rates for the bigger African village?
Okay, pass the mic on to the gentleman behind you, and let me give you the chance.
Me first? Okay, great. Mine is really more of a comment than question, as usual. Because we're here to share experiences and for different things we've done. First, on the right of way. Ordinarily, right of way shouldn't really be that expensive if you want to roll out. So, I mean, in Nigeria, many states have made it actually free. Others are charging very high. All we did was to put everybody together to say, let's agree a figure that is reasonable to be charged in different places. The governor sat down and they came up with a figure that is chargeable for a kilometer. So, and then, but many are saying, come and do it in my state for free. So I just want, maybe the regulator need to talk about the other benefits of this fiber reaching those places. If you make them understand that there are other benefits that they can get by fiber reaching those places, maybe the governments, because the roads are obviously owned by government, the government can now say, okay, look, because of these benefits that are coming, I am prepared to let go of my immediate benefits of getting revenue. So maybe you need to engage in that, and the regulator need to help to bring that discussion to happen. Now, and then again, there is what we have, what we call dig once policy. Anybody that is digging, again, this is the operator thing. The operators need to sit down together and agree that when you are digging, you put extra, if you like, conduit, so that others don't have to dig when they're putting fiber tomorrow, the competitors, so that you also provide room for expansion. And the work with the ministry in charge of roads to agree where to dig, to understand their own projected growth or increase in the road size and so on. Take that into account, and then you have dig once policy. You need to look at that. I think I would recommend that you take, there's a document we wrote in Nigeria on broadband plan. That might be helpful to look at. It's something you can download off the internet, Nigeria's broadband plan for 2020-2025. Then on the internet exchange, okay, and on the prices of, again, the fiber, operators need not to exploit others or other countries in the prices. I think they need to, that thing need to be looked at by the regulator. Regulator need to regulate, because the monopoly kind of, so that's, I mean, the country that raised this issue, I think for us to work together as Africa, I think we need to help each other, and the regulator can actually regulate the prices once there is significant market power. And in this particular case, I think there's clear significant market power being exercised. So the regulator needs to listen to that. Then the last one is on the internet exchange. On the internet exchange, we built one. I think probably ours is about I mean, it was my project. Now we're doing 350 gigabits per second, just for you, so you know. You have a long way to go, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Mine is just a write down his last point. The increase from 100 meg to 40 gig of cached data, has it translated into a reduction in pricing for the consumers, since this is locally contained?
Okay, last question in this round from here.
My question goes to Cecil. I know one of the, I think it's Lillian from Zambia. She asked about the pricing in terms of the capacity. But I'll attach the same question that the pricing need to be reviewed. But on top of that, instead of continuing leasing capacity, can we change the model to start leasing the dark fiber? So that the moment I lease the dark fiber from you, I know what I can do within itself. And the follow-up question on the same. When Adin was presenting, he said that the projects are coming on the spar links. Can we get the timelines? Because the challenge which you are facing right now, the areas like Musoma, you have only one link. When it goes down, we are hugely impacted. The same goes to the route between Mbeya to Dodoma, which was supposed, I think, to be up by February, according to the initial communication. But up to now, it's still not up yet. Can we get the glance on when it can be ready?
Thank you.
Great, that's a lot of questions for you to chew on. So
I think I had a last question.
yeah, okay, last final one.
Yeah, this will be the last one. Thank you. I'm Mwita Vedastas from TTCL, Director of Commercial. My question would be straight to my colleague from Liquid Technologies. There has been a bit of debate in terms of translation of waivers, in terms of when the government gives a certain waivers on taxes and how is it translated. And I'll give a few examples. For example, in the past 10 years, there were some waivers on certain devices which are related to telecom solutions. And later, these waivers were lifted off because the government could see that it was not translated to the last users. However, it was just to the benefit probably of different operators in terms of profit maximization. So you find that this debate sometimes makes it difficult for the government to straight probably offer certain waivers, because when they focus on what will be happening as a result of that waiver, they don't achieve it probably in 5 years, because already telcos, operators, and everyone has their strategic direction focusing on certain agendas on those 5 years. So my question was, what are you suggesting are the best way to balance between telcos' objective in terms of profit maximization, in terms of operations, vis-a-vis government objectives in terms of attending the needs and requirement of the mass at large?
Great question, thanks. Okay, you got quite a few questions now. Would you like to pick maybe one or two of those and then answer them?
Thank you. Yes, Cecil, I know you have a lot to respond to.
Yeah, thank you so much for the questions. And starting with the first question from Dr. Manasseh, I wanted to know my view, and again from Liquid, regarding open access for fixed network. And you did compare that with the current situation in the mobile network. But again, if I look at these two network infrastructures, they do differ in many ways, specifically in terms of coverage. I'm talking, for instance, if you look at the number of towers, in the morning we got the presentation from HTT. They clearly indicated that they have more than 4,000 towers. And we also understand we have Minara. And again, the market itself, it's a bit easy to do such kind of sharing, infrastructure sharing. But if you look at the status of fixed network, compared it to countries which has adopted such kind of an approach, say the UK, where they have OpenServe. These are the countries which had abundant number of fixed lines before they took this kind of approach. Before sort of liberalization or privatization taking place in such kind of countries, the head companies such as BTs and the like, with their millions number of lines, they were talking of 2 million lines, 3 million lines, 10 million lines. But here in Tanzania, if we ask ourselves, how many fixed lines do we have today? You go back to the report which came out in the last quarter, you can see it's a couple of thousands. So are we there yet to open up and adopt similar approach? That could be a big question right now, because I would say even the infrastructure itself is not there. So how can you then have an open access strategy in a place where you completely don't have such kind of infrastructure? So it's a point of discussion, and I think you have raised a challenge, and maybe the stakeholders through such kind of meetings like these, we can discuss and see what could probably be a way forward. Alternatively, we could ask ourselves, does regulatory the existing regulatory framework allow, or could it be updated or changed to facilitate such kind of collaboration, so that the operators maybe can start planning and investing together? I'm saying they have to invest together because the network does not exist, I would say like that. So this probably, I should take it as a challenge. We should take it as a challenge, all of us, and see whether we are really that ready. But I'm a bit hesitant because I don't see the infrastructure. And this is not happening in Tanzania. Looking at, I don't know what is happening in Kenya, but in other African countries, you look at the fixed network, it is like it doesn't really exist. So this is a challenge. So it's not yes, not no. It's something that we can discuss. Question number 2 and number 4. I'm skipping number 3 because it's more of a comment from former DG from Nigeria. But number 2 from MTN Zambia, and number 5 from my colleague Vodacom regarding the pricing. I think the ministry will also respond a little bit on that, but at least I can give a little bit of perspective in terms of what we've done to ensure what you are basically asking is happening. We have done it through the design and planning of the network. And basically, we have the foundation block in the ground. We have the fiber network sitting in the ground for the past 10 years. What we are currently doing rather is more of extending the same to unconnected areas, but using the existing fiber network to increase the capacity. And like I said earlier, the issue again was making sure that we are putting in place adequate capacity which can support or meet the demand of the local market, meaning within Tanzania, but again across the borders to Zambia, via Nakonde, Malawi, Kasumulo, Burundi, Rwanda, we have Kenya and Uganda. Our belief is because we already had the previous investment and we are leveraging on the same, this time the capacities that we are going to put in place will very much reduce, the cost per meg will very much be reduced, and the same then is expected to be reflected in the prices which will be offered to the market. I don't have the numbers with me, but I'm very much sure this is something which has been taken on board, and once we complete the implementation of ongoing projects, I very much believe there will be some price change, and that would be very much significant. But Peter, maybe you could also add on the same. Talking of the resilience, yes, I said earlier what we did before launching the project. We made sure that we met with all stakeholders, the national operators. I'm very sorry for the customers from outside Tanzania, but we met with all operators in Tanzania and wanted to know exactly their expectations, their needs, their demands, and the information or the inputs you gave us were very much useful. We took them into the plans, and we made sure that those critical areas which were very much being affected by cuts because of lack of redundancy, we had included them. And this includes Musoma. In the previous presentation by Mugendi, I think if you do remember, or if you can see in the map, we have a route which will be originating from Shinyanga via Bariadi to Musoma, and this will be protecting Musoma because now Musoma will be in the ring. But we have a border point with Rwanda. It's a very important one because we have a number of customers, MTN being one of them. We were experiencing some cuts now and then. That particular border alone will now be protected by two additional links, one originating from Bukoba, but another will be overhead by electrical utility poles to the border. So you have a POP to Rwanda with 3 legs. But again, similar protection will be done on Burundi border. The only 2 circuits which have been left aside, but they'll be accommodated in this new year, this financial year plan, the links to Malawi, from Mbeya to Malawi. We have underground, but we also protect it via overhead, and also one of the links to Kenya, inaitwaje ile ya kule.
Thanks. We need to speed up a little bit.
Yes.
Any quick responses?
So, but what I'm trying to say is, we have taken on board all of your requirements, and we are very much sure that, it is rally. So by the end of this financial year, which will be June 2023, all those spar links will also have been protected, and we don't expect to continue experiencing such kind of problems like we do right now. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe Peter, if you have to respond in final thoughts.
Just to add a few, as my colleague said, for the issue of sparring, that is solved. And maybe, is it from Vodacom, right? What I remembered, before we started implementation of these expansions, it was last year, I think, we called all operators, and in Dodoma, Vodacom, Airtel, Tigo, so that you bring your requirements and then we take as the priority. For the link which you said, we have a link, and this one is coming from you, Vodacom, from Mbeya, Kambika Chunya, Kambika Toto, all the way to Singida, to protect Mbeya. And so what we are doing, we are not planning ourselves. We sit with you operators. Maybe it's not you who you came in that meeting, but your colleagues were there. And your inputs, they are the one who we take as a priority, so that we want everybody, especially you operators, because you are the one who's saving customers, to be satisfied. There was the issue of, okay, by when, my colleague already said, some of the links by end of this year, they will be up and running. And there is, I think there is one question about the dark fiber. That one we need to further consultation and discussions. So we have taken it and we'll work on it. But for now, our business model is leasing capacity. I think everyone is still comfortable with that one.
Okay. Is that all, Peter?
For the comment which came from former
NCC?
Nigeria DG, yes, thanks so much. For us, we don't have already the policy, but we have taken that, and we'll be happy if you can share that document so that we can get inputs for us so we can solve our problem here. For the issue of putting, you say dig ones, yes, we had that one with operators. We are putting a duct, which maybe with 16 ways, it depends with the region. Then the other, not dig, they just use the duct.
Okay, Noah, final thoughts before we conclude this?
Final quick thoughts.
Yeah, all right, thanks. For me, I just appreciate the comment from former DG. In fact, I will not repeat the traffic levels he mentioned because it's quite a shame if they are doing what they are doing and we are doing what we are doing. God forbid you have, of course, to Africa coming in, but let's hypothetically assume the subsea cable systems are off. Tanzania still needs its own internal internet infrastructure.
That's correct.
And one of the most important stakeholder of the Tanzania Internet Service Provider Associations and all the exchange points that we manage is the government, because GovNet has quite some significant amount of traffic on that infrastructure. Of course, common mwananchi, whether you're paying for your luku or you're doing your utility bills, DAWASA and everything, or paying your taxes, all that traffic is being exchanged on these exchange points because most of these government organizations are connected to the switch fabric which we manage. So the only way we will see something similar to Nigeria, also to speak even South Africa, because I know the numbers in South Africa, is once we remove some of these issues, once those go away and we have this fixed broadband and this right-of-way is off, we will see something much better. And I guess in the next conference or 2 years from now, we'll report better statistics. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Denny, last but not
I just want to say, since the government of President Hassan took over, we've seen the TCRA change from being a policeman to being a business partner. And we really appreciate the way the ministry, they're coming we have monthly engagement meetings with them. That's how the result of this VSAT fee is coming down. And he just confirmed we're in discussion to reduce the tariff fees. They're calling us to say, come consult. What can we do to make your business better? How can we help you grow? So you can see they're very serious. So for us as Liquid Intelligence Technologies, we really appreciate the new environment that has been created.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Innocent, any closing remarks?
Yeah,
Way to sum up this discussion? Over
Yeah,
to you.
very simple, because they've tried and helped me to conclude, but I will say what I've gathered here is the country is really very well connected, and I'm sure with an announcement of the minister that the Data Protection Act is on its way, that means we'll have a safer, even cyberspace in Tanzania, which is very well connected, and all the stakeholders agrees to that. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And speaking of announcements, we would like to have one last word from the floor here.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Mulembo Munaku, the director of ICT, from the ministry. I didn't want to contribute for this session, but there is one comment, on pricing. From Malawi, I think, pricing on the issue of capacity. And as you have stated, really, we are listening, and I want to promise that we're going to check on that. Thank you.
Once again, a big round of applause for our panelists and for the spirit of camaraderie and partnership that's coming out of the ecosystem here. Will you all please join the audience now? Thank you so much. I will see you all for cocktails in the veranda out there, and then the real discussion will begin. Thank you.